Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. And just a very quick video. I've had I would like to say hundreds of people, but in fact it's been more like two. Two people have asked me, at least two people have asked me about the drum kit, my electric drum kit, digital drum kit, whatever you want to call it, that I use to record with. So, because I've got nothing else better to do, I thought I would show it to you. So, here we are. This is my drum kit from behind, so to speak. Ooh, misses. And it is effectively it's an old Yamaha 1980s Power V drum kit. This tom 10, 12, and the bass drum is a 22 by 18, I think it is. 80s, so deep toms, and they used to sound really good acoustically. But I've had them a long time. I bought them on eBay for about £100, the whole drum kit, and I've actually got a 13 as well. I wasn't able to use that, or I chose not to use it, really, because what happens is the insides of this are, if I get a drum key, looking at on all the wires, and I'm having a bit of time. I should have a bit of a tie. If I take this off, you'll see what it involves. What I've done, I've just effectively excuse me, bit of editing there. Had a bit of a butterfly fingers, butterfingers situation. Yeah. So what happens is, if you get the right size drum with the right number of lugs in, which is in Roland's case is 6 lugs, you'll find that most of them will fit quite comfortably. Now I'll show you, because if you've ever taken a Roland pad to bits, you suddenly think, oh my god, I've spent all that money on this, because what you're really playing for is the drum brain. It's the that's the thing that's got the magic in it, so to speak. But they are well made, I have to admit. The thing is, I've tried quite a few other lesser brands, and these have lasted me now. I've had this for oh god, at least 10 years, and it was the sort of flagship. I remember buying it, and I think about 3 months later they released the TD30. So I was really pleased that the shop assistant had told me that the new one was coming out, which he would have known. He was thinking, God, I better clear this old stock out. He did give me a good discount, I think. Anyway, let's take. Oh, I haven't taken this one off now. So I'll show you what the inside looks like. This is really interesting. If you're not interested in drums, first of all, I'd say, why are you watching this? And if you are interested in drums, why are you watching this? Because there's a man fumbling with. I can do it, honestly. I'm really quick normally. So my girlfriend says, no, shush. Right, here we go. Oh. What's going on? Come out. So here we go. That's what it looks like. Now, obviously what I've had to do is, there you can see, I've drilled a hole in the side of the shell. That's pretty much all you have to do. And there's a little notch you can see here. What happens is this plastic insert is, if I just pull it out, you'll see it's pretty unremarkable. This is what, yeah, I mean, these things cost a lot of money, and it's just a bit of plastic with a cone trigger in, but they work. It's got a bit of dust, obviously. They work really well. Really simple, and all you have to do is say you take this out of your Roland shell and stick it in here, and that's it. See, so I've just done that with all these. This one is an exception because I had to buy another 12-inch. I tried to find another 12-inch Roland Yamaha, another Yamaha drum, but I couldn't find one, unfortunately. And so I ended up with, I think it's a reasonably cheap, I think it was a Pearl Focus, or was it Focus, or one of those? It's one of those starter kit things. Of course, the actual acoustic sound, I'm not interested in that at all. Just simply, it's a housing for this here plastic stuff to go in. So I've got a 10 and these two 12s. Now this one is temporarily here. I'm going to move this over to over here and have another floor tom, an auxiliary floor tom over here, because that would fit my playing style a bit better. But until I'm going to do this 16 inch one here, the 16 by 16 floor tom in the very heavy and very metal blood design, which I thought was a good idea 10 years ago, but that is going to have a tom-tom, a Roland tom-tom. I'm actually going to put the whole tom inside it because you can't get a Roland pad that's 16 inches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same treatment on the floor tom as I did on the bass drum. Now on the bass drum, what I did was, if you can see that, with of course, fortunately the sunshine's shining in from the window, I simply took the whole bass drum of the Roland, which is I think a KD 120, is it, or KP? Well, that's the nuts, isn't it? KD, I think it's KD 120. It's a 12-inch tom. Normally it's got like legs on the side and it's got a bar that holds it and blah blah blah. It's very heavy duty and it works really well, but it looks pretty rubbish. If you were going to use this on a live gig, it would be very much an electric drum kit. So the idea of this is to make it look like an acoustic one. Why? Because I've got too much time on my hands and we're locked down, and you think twiddle twiddle of the thumbs, and you think, I tell you what, I'll turn my drum kit into an into an electric one. So this is what you do. Anyway, so what I've done, I've just run a bar through, and I'll show it from this side. And you can see it's not too obtrusive. It looks pretty rock and roll. It looks a bit sort of RoboCop, well, or something, cyberpunk, what do you want to call it. And it just simply sits inside here. But instead of putting a separate head on and just having this, I've put the head on like you would do on a normal drum, and because I'm only hitting the middle here, and it works absolutely fine. I've had this in now for at least probably 4 or 5 months, and it's worked really, really great. And you can see I've still got the lugs and everything on this side, but obviously there's nothing on them. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to do the same treatment. I'm going to put but it's a 10-inch. I have a 10-inch one left over, so I'm taking the whole tom out. I'm sticking it inside a 16. I will do a little video on that, possibly. I probably will. No, I will do. I'm sure it'll be interesting to someone who's got more time on their hands than they should have, anyway. And that's it, really. Oh no, of course, the snare drum. You're probably looking at the snare drum and think, what an amazing beast that is. That's just it's a 12-inch standard. It's a 12-inch standard Roland pad. But what I've done, I've got 2 of them, and let's have a look. Let's take it to bits so you can see the workings of it. So what I've done, I just I put them and stuck them together. To make it to a more convincing sort of, yeah. So I've just put a thing on the bottom, a just a cheap mesh head on the bottom, and there we go. Just stick that on, and I've just covered it in a. Sorry, you're having a very strange view of me bonging around with that. Now, yeah, I just covered it with the same stuff I'm using for the whole drum kit. Really, I'm using this car vinyl. On the toms, I use the carbon fiber stuff, and on the snare drum, you can get this. It's a metallic, as you can see. It simulates a sort of copper or brass snare drum, and it looks pretty cool, I think. And it functions in exactly the same way as it would do normally. No difference really. The only thing, I did adapt the toms to just being single-headed, and the real reason for that was that the drum rims were. The hoops were not in a good, they were a bit rusty, and I've had to have bought new ones, and I thought, concert toms look cool anyway. They're coming back in fashion. Even Thomas Lang is using concert toms. For how long, we're not sure. But anyway, so it's. I've always liked the sound of them acoustically as well. I used to have a drum kit, which was all concert toms. They sort of went way out of fashion. But I think they're sort of coming back in. So there's room for all these things, I think. Yeah, and that's it. I've used this live, not this exact kit, but the same idea live. But I've used a real snare drum, and I had two bass drums, and I used these things, these D-drum triggers on the bass drums, and triggered off sounds. Actually, at the time, it was actually from a Yamaha, but yeah. So you can use these quite effectively live. I don't like electric cymbals live. I don't think they work very well at all. And there's my dog barking in the background. And but you know, from the toms and the bass drum sound great live. Really, really good and really punchy, and very often. Much better than a standard tom would sound or a bass drum sound, especially when you're on a tour and the sound engineer is sometimes not up to scratch, shall we say. So you handle all the sound yourself, and you just send out the digital sound, and it works well. Not in every genre of music, I think it's. But it worked well for the metal band I used to play in. So yeah, there we go. So there we have it. For what it's worth. So it wasn't really that. I wasn't very detailed about it, was I? But you get the idea. Effectively, all I've done is just whop a Roland TD20 inside a Yamaha Power V kit, and it's worked pretty well. It looks pretty cool, and I think you get away with it live fairly well if you use real cymbals. The electric cymbals are fine for, especially in live environments. They're fine for trash chinas and splashes and those sharp attack cymbals, but not really for a general use. You can get away with it in a recording environment, but for live work, I've never found they work that great. It does sound it sounds too fake. I think if you were working with playing electronic music and stuff like that, dance music, EDM, that type of thing, you'd be fine. But playing rock, pop, it just sounds a little bit too digital for live work, in my personal opinion. So there we go. I've rattled on quite enough. Quite lonely, really. No, I'm not. I have a dog and a very nice girlfriend who keeps me company, and my drums. So here we go. That's it. Yes, and thank you very much for joining me. And tune in soon next year for another update on what's happening. in the world of Mr. Johnny Brutal of Banger Drum. Thank you much. Goodbye.